The crystalline spires of New Geneva Station gleamed against the backdrop of distant stars, its elegant architecture masking the tension that crackled through its diplomatic quarters. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck's edge, her dark eyes fixed on the Vexte medical ship currently being inspected by Conclave enforcement vessels. The scene before her made her blood boil. The once proud vessel now surrounded by the predatory shapes of Conclave warships, their energy weapons powered up despite this being a supposed routine inspection. 13th ship this week, her aide, Lieutenant Marcus Walsh, reported quietly beside her. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Sarah's jaw tightened as she watched another scanning beam sweep across the Vexte vessel's hull. The Vexte, beings of living crystal and light, had been humanity's first alien contact, extending friendship when Earth had barely mastered interplanetary travel. They'd shared their medical knowledge freely, helping humanity cure diseases that had plagued them for millennia. Now, after centuries of loyal service to the Galactic Conclave, they were being treated like criminals. "Run the numbers again," Sarah ordered, though she already knew what they'd show. "Compare inspection frequencies across all member species." Marcus's neural implant flickered as he accessed the station's database. Vexte vessels are being targeted at 12 times the rate of other species. Their medical shipments are being delayed an average of 72 hours. And he paused, his expression darkening. "Commander, these inspection patterns aren't random. They're systematically targeting specific shipping routes, ones carrying vital medical supplies to outer colonies." Sarah's neural link pulsed with an incoming priority message. The sender was anonymous, but the security signatures were authentic. Someone high up in the conclave wanted to talk. The message was simple. Botanical Gardens, 3rd shift. Evidence of corruption. "Clear my schedule for tonight," Sarah told Marcus, her voice carefully neutral. "And have security run a discreet sweep of the gardens during 2nd shift. Let's not walk into an ambush." The Botanical Gardens occupied the station's outer ring, where the artificial gravity was lowest. Plants from 1,000 worlds drifted in carefully maintained containment fields, creating an ethereal display of alien life. During 3rd shift, most diplomats would be at their evening meals or in their quarters. Sarah found her contact behind a cluster of floating earth roses. The archivist, a member of the ancient Tellurian species, looked nothing like the proud scholars they were known to be. Their iridescent scales were dull, their posture haunted. "Commander Chen," they whispered, their translator struggling with the low frequencies. "What I'm about to share, my life is forfeit, but the honor of my order demands I speak." The data crystal they passed her was small enough to hide in her palm. The exploitation of the Vexte was planned decades ago. The Conclave's inner circle, they'd been harvesting Vexte medical technology, reverse engineering their biological processes without consent. The inspections, the delays, they're collecting samples, studying their very essence. Sarah's neural implant processed the files. Financial records, private communications, research logs. The Conclave hadn't just been inspecting Vexte ships. They'd been systematically stealing genetic samples, analyzing the crystalline being's unique ability to manipulate light and energy for healing. The ultimate goal, weapons development. "Why tell me this?" Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. The archivist's compound eyes dimmed. "Because your species still remembers honor. The old powers think humans are too young, too naive to challenge them. They don't understand that youth can be a strength. You haven't been corrupted by millennia of political games." A sudden movement caught Sarah's attention. Conclave security forces were entering the garden, led by members of Internal Affairs. The archivist saw them too. "They know," they said simply. "Remember, Commander, the Vexte trusted the Conclave, shared their gifts freely. Look how that trust was repaid." Before Sarah could stop them, the archivist activated something on their wrist. Their body dissolved into shimmering particles, leaving no evidence for the approaching security forces to find. The data crystal felt heavy in Sarah's hidden pocket as she straightened her uniform, and prepared to face the security team. The evidence had to reach Earth Command. The Vexte had stood by humanity when they first reached the stars, offering friendship when other species had counseled isolation. Now it was time to return that loyalty, no matter the cost. As she watched the security forces sweep the garden with their sensors, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The old powers of the galaxy were about to learn an important lesson. Never mistake humanity's youth for weakness or their kindness for submission. The Vexte had shown humanity compassion when they were young and vulnerable. Now it was time to show the galaxy what that compassion had created, a species that remembered its debts and would move heaven and earth to repay them. She activated her neural link, establishing a secure connection to Earth Command. This is Commander Chen. Priority 1 transmission. Authorization code Sierra, Charlie 79 Delta. We have a situation. She paused, looking out at the stars beyond the garden's transparent dome. And we're going to need the fleet. Lieutenant James O'Neill moved through the shadows of Conclave Research Station Epsilon, his stealth suit adapting to match the metallic walls. 3 months of deep cover work had led to this moment. The station, officially listed as a routine medical research facility, had been receiving an unusual number of encrypted transmissions lately. More telling were the energy signatures his suit's sensors detected, weapons-grade power fluctuations in a supposed civilian installation. His neural implant silently connected with the station's secondary systems, a backdoor planted weeks ago finally bearing fruit. Security camera feeds flickered across his enhanced vision. Uniformed conclave guards, research staff, and something that made his heart stop. Containment cells filled with the crystalline forms of Vexte subjects. "Control, are you seeing this?" He subvocalized, his throat picking up the barely audible words. "Affirmative," Captain Maya Rodriguez's voice whispered in his head. "Getting clear readings. Those containment fields, they're designed to suppress bioluminescence. They're trying to dampen the Vexte's natural healing abilities." James moved closer to one of the research terminals, his cybernetic fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Years of training in conclave computer systems paid off as layers of encryption fell away. What he found made his augmented blood run cold. Project files revealed the true scope of the conclave's ambitions. They weren't just studying Vexte healing abilities. They were trying to weaponize them. The crystalline aliens could manipulate light and energy to accelerate cellular regeneration. The conclave wanted to reverse the process, to turn healing light into destroying darkness. "This goes deeper than we thought," James transmitted. "They're not just exploiting the Vexte. They're trying to turn their gift of healing into a weapon of mass destruction. Some kind of entropy beam. If they succeed, they cooled." A sudden alarm blared through the station. James's heart raced as security feeds showed troops mobilizing, but they weren't heading toward him. "New contact." Maya's voice was urgent now. "Large vessel just dropped out of FTL. Signatures match. It's a Vexte medical ship. They're directing it to dock at the research station." James accessed the external cameras. The Vexte vessel was beautiful, its crystalline hull refracting starlight like a diamond. But it was surrounded by conclave enforcement ships, their weapons primed. This wasn't an inspection. It was an abduction. "They're not even bothering with pretense anymore," he growled. "They're just taking them now." "Lieutenant, maintain mission parameters," Maya ordered, though he could hear the strain in her voice. "We need that data. We can't blow your cover, not when we're this close to." The feed crackled with static as a new voice cut in. "This is Commander Chen. Lieutenant O'Neill, are you seeing any signs of Project Oracle in the database?" James quickly searched the files. "Yes, Ma'am. It's worse than we thought. The Conclave isn't just planning to weaponize Vexte abilities. They're planning a full-scale takeover. The weapons research, the abductions, it's all preparation for something bigger." He pulled up more files, his augmented vision processing the data faster than any natural human could. "They're calling it the Purification Protocol. Once they perfect the entropy weapon, They plan to use it to force compliance from any species that resists Conclave authority. The Vextae are just the first test subjects. Can you get proof? Something concrete we can take to Earth Command. James's fingers flew across the terminal. Downloading now. But Commander, that ship up there. Those people. There was a long pause on the channel. When Commander Chen spoke again, her voice was steel. Lieutenant, how confident are you in your combat augments? A slow smile spread across James's face. Top of my class in the Special Operations Program, ma'am. And my cover identity has full security clearance. Then consider your mission parameters updated. Get that data. And remind the Conclave why humans have a reputation for being unpredictable. James was already moving, his augmented muscles carrying him swiftly through the station's corridors. He'd spent months playing the role of a meek research assistant. Now it was time to show them what a human special operations agent could really do. The security forces never saw him coming. His augments gave him speed and strength far beyond what his slight frame suggested, and his neural implants let him hack security systems on the fly. Alarms blared, but they only added to the confusion as he triggered false alerts across the station. He reached the docking bay just as they were forcing the Vextae passengers from their ship. The crystalline being's light had dimmed with fear, their translucent forms shimmering weakly under the harsh station lights. I apologize for the upcoming violence, he told them, switching his translator to the Vextae frequency. My people haven't forgotten your kindness to us. Neither have we forgotten how to repay it. The next few minutes were a blur of motion and precision violence. His augments let him move faster than organic eyes could follow, and his neural implants turned the station's security systems against their own forces. By the time reinforcements arrived, the Vextae were safely back on their ship, and James had locked down the docking bay. The data is transmitted, he reported, his breathing steady despite the exertion. And our friends are safe, but I think I may have blown my cover. He could hear Commander Chen's smile in her voice. Then I suppose it's time to show the Conclave another human trait they seem to have forgotten about. What's that, ma'am? We're really good at improvising exit strategies. 7th Fleet is dropping out of FTL in 3, 2, 1. The station rocked as humanity's warships emerged from hyperspace, their weapon systems already charged. James watched through the docking bay windows as the Conclave enforcement vessels scattered before the human fleet's arrival. Time to go home, Lieutenant, Commander Chen ordered. We have what we need. The Conclave is about to learn that some lines should never be crossed, especially when humanity's friends are concerned. As James escorted the Vextae ship to safety under the protection of Earth's fleet, he reflected that the Conclave had made a serious miscalculation. They thought humanity's youth made them weak. Instead, it made them dangerous. Because unlike the ancient powers of the galaxy, humans still remembered what it meant to fight for something greater than themselves. The Grand Chamber of Earth's Parliament in New Delhi hummed with tension as Admiral Elena Santos presented the evidence. Holographic displays showed the full scope of the Conclave's betrayal, secret research facilities, weapons development programs, and the systematic exploitation of the Vextae people. This is not just about military advantage, she declared, her voice carrying to every corner of the historic chamber. The Vextae shared their healing technology freely with us when we first reached the stars. They asked nothing in return except friendship. Now we know the Conclave has been torturing them, experimenting on them, trying to turn their gift of healing into a weapon of mass destruction. The Parliament chamber erupted in outrage. Representatives from every nation on Earth watched in horror as the Admiral played recordings from the research facility. The sight of Vextae beings, their crystalline forms dulled by pain and fear, touched something deep in the human psyche. The Conclave believes that our youth makes us weak, Elena continued, her dark eyes blazing. They think we lack the will to challenge their authority. But they've forgotten something crucial about humanity. We remember our debts. In orbit above Earth, the combined fleets of humanity's nations gathered. Ships of every size and design, from the sleek vessels of the Pan-Asian Alliance to the heavily armored warships of the European Federation, moved into formation. It was the largest mobilization of human military forces in history. On the Vextai homeworld of Crystallos, something unprecedented was happening. The crystalline beings, known throughout the galaxy for their peaceful nature, were beginning to change. Their usually transparent forms took on harder edges, their healing light focusing into something sharper. Ambassador Luxera, her crystalline form pulsing with determination, addressed the Vextai High Council. For millennia, we have served the Conclave faithfully. We shared our gifts, healed their sick, asked nothing but peace in return. And how have they repaid us? With betrayal, with torture, with attempts to turn our sacred healing arts into weapons. The chamber resonated with the harmonics of angry Vextai, their crystalline bodies vibrating with shared emotion. But we are not alone, Luxera continued. The humans, youngest of all spacefaring races, have shown more honor than the ancient powers. They risk everything to stand with us. Should we do any less? The response was immediate. Throughout Vextai space, healing centers began to shut down. Medical ships changed course, refusing to answer Conclave hails. It wasn't violence. The Vextai would not abandon their principles so easily, but it was resistance. The Conclave's response was swift and brutal. Trade sanctions, already harsh, became draconian. Military vessels moved into position around key Vextai worlds. The message was clear: submit or be crushed. They didn't expect the humans to already be there. Earth's parliament had voted unanimously. Humanity would not stand by while their friends were oppressed. The Seventh Fleet, humanity's most advanced battle group, took up defensive positions around Crystallos. Other fleets moved to protect key Vextai colonies and medical facilities. Admiral Santos stood on the bridge of the HFY Athena, watching as Conclave warships approached the defense line around Crystallos. "They still think we're bluffing," she remarked to her XO, Commander Rajpatal. "They don't believe we'll actually fight their entire military machine." "Their mistake," Raj replied, reviewing tactical displays. "They've spent so long playing political games, they've forgotten what it means to fight for a cause you truly believe in." The Conclave's ultimatum arrived on all frequencies. "This is your final warning. Remove your vessels from Vextai space immediately. This is an internal Conclave matter. Interference will be considered an act of war." Alina's response was brief. "The Vextai are under Earth's protection. Any action against them will be considered an attack on humanity itself. And unlike you, we don't make empty threats." The Conclave ships launched their first warning shot, a plasma burst that dissipated harmlessly against the Athena shields. Alina smiled grimly as her tactical officers reported ready status across the fleet. "Send word to all ships," she ordered. "Defensive positions only. Let them throw the first real punch. But when they do," her smile turned predatory, "show them why humanity's ships don't look like artwork. We build for function, not beauty. And we've spent centuries preparing for this moment." The Conclave fleet commanders, used to dealing with subjugated species and political maneuvering, didn't understand what they were facing. Humanity had spent its entire history fighting, evolving, adapting. Every human ship carried the lessons learned from countless wars, the innovations born of necessity and desperation. As the Conclave fleet moved to engage, Alina sent one final message to Earth Command. "The line is drawn. We stand with our friends, no matter the cost. Let history remember that when the Conclave demanded the galaxy bow to tyranny, humanity stood up and said, 'No more.'" The battle for Crystallos was about to begin, and with it, a war that would reshape the galaxy. The Conclave was about to learn why you should never push a young species into a corner, especially one that had turned warfare into an art form. The bridge of the HFY Athena hummed with controlled tension as Admiral Santos watched the tactical display. The Conclave fleet approached in perfect formation, their golden ships arranged in the traditional spear point pattern that had won wars for millennia. Their confidence was almost palpable. After all, they outnumbered the human fleet 3-1. All ships reporting ready, Admiral, Commander Patel announced. Operation Thunderstrike protocols activated. Elena nodded, her eyes never leaving the display. Send the signal to the Vextay. Tell them to begin their transmission. Across the battlefield, the crystalline ships of the Vextay medical fleet began broadcasting healing frequencies. To the Conclave sensors, it appeared as though their former subjects were attempting some futile, peaceful gesture. They didn't realize they were watching the first phase of humanity's battle plan. Quantum resonance fields at full capacity, Tactical Officer Liu reported. The Vextay broadcasts are masking our signatures perfectly. Conclave sensors still show us as basic fusion-powered vessels. Elena allowed herself a small smile. The Conclave had always dismissed human ships as primitive, noting their blocky designs and apparent lack of advanced energy weapons. They were about to learn why appearances could be deceiving. All ships, execute pattern Hydra, she ordered. The human fleet broke formation, splitting into smaller groups that seemed to move chaotically. To the Conclave tactical computers, programmed with millennia of traditional space combat doctrine, it appeared as though the humans were panicking. The Conclave fleet pressed their apparent advantage, moving to envelop the scattered human ships. Their first volley of plasma torpedoes streaked across space and passed harmlessly through holographic projections. Ghost fleet projections successful, Liu reported with satisfaction. Their targeting computers are completely fooled by our quantum duplicates. While the Conclave wasted fire on phantom ships, the real human vessels moved into position. Centuries of submarine warfare doctrine had taught humanity the value of stealth and misdirection. Every human ship was equipped with technology derived from ancient Somar principles, allowing them to navigate precisely even when running dark. Multiple Conclave vessels adjusting course, Patel warned. They're trying to compensate for the holograms. Perfect, Elena replied. Spring the trap. All ships, initiate Thunderstrike protocols. The human fleet's true weapons revealed themselves. Not the energy weapons the Conclave expected, but something far more devastating. Railguns powered by miniaturized quantum reactors launched projectiles at near-relativistic speeds. The Conclave's energy shields, designed to disperse plasma and laser fire, might as well have been tissue paper. First wave impact in 3-2-1. The Conclave formation shattered as kinetic rounds tore through their ships. Their commanders, trained to expect energy weapons that could be deflected, had no doctrine for dealing with simple physics applied with devastating precision. Their ships are breaking formation, Liu reported, detecting multiple power fluctuations across their fleet. The quantum disruption fields are working. Their targeting systems are completely compromised. The battle devolved into chaos, exactly as humanity had planned. While the Conclave relied on rigid formations and pre-programmed tactics, human ships operated independently, each captain free to make tactical decisions based on the changing situation. It was warfare evolved from centuries of naval combat, adapted for three-dimensional space. Vextay medical ships reporting successful evacuation of the outer colonies, Patel announced. All civilians are clear of the combat zone. Elena nodded grimly. Time for Phase 2. Deploy the drone swarms. Thousands of small unmanned craft erupted from the human ship's launch bays. Based on designs dating back to the earliest days of aerial combat, these drones were virtually invisible to Conclave sensors. They carried no weapons. They were weapons, each one programmed to seek out and disable specific systems on Conclave vessels. The Conclave commanders, already struggling with human tactics they couldn't understand, found their ships being systematically disabled by enemies they couldn't even detect. Communications arrays shorted out. Weapon systems went dark. Engine cores shut down. "Ma'am," Liu called out, detecting priority targets. Conclave command ships trying to retreat to FTL. "Not this time," Elena growled. "All ships, execute maneuver breaking wave. Don't let them escape to warn the others. The human fleet moved like predators, cutting off escape routes with precise coordination. Ships that appeared primitive to conclave sensors revealed their true nature. Hybrid vessels combining kinetic weapons with quantum technology, each one a testament to humanity's talent for combining old ideas with new innovations. As the last conclave command ship surrendered, Alina opened a channel to Earth Command. Phase 1 of Operation Thunderstrike complete. Crystallos sector secured. She paused, looking at the tactical display showing dozens of disabled or surrendered conclave vessels. And command. Tell the conclave's leadership to check their secure channels. They're about to receive video of exactly what happens when you mistake humanity's apparent technological limitations for weakness. The battle had lasted less than an hour. The conclave fleet, pride of their military, had been systematically dismantled by tactics they never saw coming. As rescue ships moved in to secure prisoners and salvage intelligence, Alina reflected on the irony. The conclave had spent so long playing politics, they'd forgotten the one truth humanity had never forgotten. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the most advanced technology. It's the one who knows how to use simple principles in unexpected ways. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Conclave fell silent as Admiral Alina Santos strode into the center of the vast amphitheater. The ancient chamber, designed to humble visitors with its towering architecture and ornate decorations, seemed somehow diminished now. The seats usually occupied by Conclave High Command sat conspicuously empty. Their former occupants now faced charges of crimes against sentient beings. Representatives from 100 species watched as Alina activated the holographic display. The image that appeared showed the aftermath of Operation Thunderstrike. Dozens of conclave warships disabled or destroyed, their vaunted fleet broken by human ingenuity and determination. For centuries, Alina began, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. The conclave has maintained power through a simple principle. The oldest civilizations know best. Youth was considered a weakness, innovation was discouraged, and tradition became a chain rather than a guide. The hologram shifted to show Vextai medical ships, now free of conclave inspections, delivering aid to outer colony worlds. Their crystalline forms glowed with renewed purpose, their healing light untainted by fear. But youth is not weakness, Alina continued. Youth is strength. Youth remembers what the ancient powers have forgotten, that true civilization is built on cooperation, not domination. That progress comes from innovation, not stagnation. And most importantly, that honor is not measured in years, but in actions. Commander Chen stepped forward next, carrying the data crystal that had started it all. This evidence proves that the conclave leadership didn't just betray the Vextai. They betrayed every principle they claimed to uphold. They turned healing into weapons, peace into terror, and trust into chains. The chamber erupted in angry murmurs as the full scope of the conclave's corruption was revealed. Species that had suffered under their rule for centuries found their voices at last. But this is not a moment for revenge, Alina declared, raising her hand for silence. This is a moment for reformation. Humanity did not fight this war to destroy the conclave, but to transform it, to prove that there is a better way. The hologram changed again, showing the combined fleet that now orbited the conclave capital, ships from Earth, freed Vextai vessels, and dozens of other species who had joined the cause once humanity showed it could be done. We propose a new covenant, Alina announced, one based not on age or tradition, but on actions and principles, where wisdom is judged not by the years a species has spent among the stars, but by how they use their power to help others, where innovation is encouraged, not feared, where strength exists to protect, not dominate. Ambassador Luxera floated forward, her crystalline form radiating with renewed vigor. The Vextai support this proposal. We have seen what becomes of power without compassion, of tradition without growth. It is time for change. One by one, representatives from other species stood to pledge their support. Even some of the older races, Those who had once been the Conclave's strongest supporters recognized that the time for change had come. As the new charter was drafted and signed, Alina received a private message from Earth Command. The fleets had secured the last of the Conclave's secret research facilities. The weapons programs had been dismantled, the prisoners freed, and the corrupted leadership brought to justice. "It won't be easy," Commander Chen remarked quietly as they watched the proceedings. "Some will resist change. The old guard won't give up their power quietly." Elena smiled, remembering the battle that had brought them here. "That's why we're not giving them a choice. The galaxy is changing, with or without their approval. The age of stagnation is over." In the days that followed, the transformation began. The Vextay resumed their healing work, now protected by human warships and supported by a coalition of species who had found their courage at last. Research that had been forbidden for centuries was pursued openly, combining the wisdom of age with the innovation of youth. The humans, once dismissed as primitive upstarts, found themselves in an unexpected role, not rulers, but catalysts for change. Their ships patrolled trade routes once dominated by Conclave enforcers, ensuring that no species would again suffer systematic exploitation. On the observation deck of the EFS Athena, Alina watched ships from a dozen species moving freely through space. A Vextay medical vessel passed nearby, its crystalline hull glowing with healthy light, no longer dimmed by fear or oppression. "Was it worth it?" Commander Chen asked, joining her at the viewport. "The risk, the lives lost, the political upheaval." Elena thought of the Vextay, who had shown kindness to humanity when they first reached the stars. She thought of the archivist who had sacrificed everything to expose the truth. She thought of every species that had lived in fear of Conclave repression, now free to forge their own path. "Some debts can't be measured in costs and benefits," she replied. "Sometimes you fight not because you think you can win, but because it's right." The Vextay taught us that when we were young, that true strength lies not in domination, but in healing, in helping, in standing up for what's right, no matter the odds. She turned to face the stars, where human ships now flew alongside vessels from civilizations far older than their own. "We didn't just win a war," she said softly. "We proved that youth isn't a weakness to be overcome, but a strength to be celebrated. That innovation isn't a threat to tradition, but its natural evolution. And most importantly, we proved that sometimes the greatest power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the courage to protect." The galaxy was changing, and for the first time in millennia, that change brought hope instead of fear. The age of stagnation was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and it had started because humanity remembered something the ancient powers had forgotten: that true civilization is built not on the oppression of the weak, but on the protection of allies and the repayment of debts.